Hello film fans, and welcome to this episode of the Sherlockian. Now, a few weeks ago I did a review of the BBC Natural History programme Planet Earth 2, and I thought it was pretty good, pretty comprehensive for a short 10-minute video. But unfortunately I received some flack from my younger brother, who has a very strong love, bordering on obsession at times, of jaguars. And he came into my room and said, "Why on earth didn't you include the bit with the jaguar hunting the caiman in it? I loved that bit." So, in order to appease him, this is my special Planet Earth 2 Take 2, where I add in a bit of other stuff that I liked, more specifically that bit. Now, I didn't really talk a lot about the episode Jungles at all in my other review, and there's a very good reason for that. You see, along with the Mountains episode, it was probably the one I liked least. It has nothing to do with the way it's shot, or the way David Attenborough narrates it, or even the stuff it includes. I just thought it was a bit pointless. I mean, they already did a Jungles episode in the previous Planet Earth 1. And I sort of thought, well, do you really need another episode on jungles? I mean, granted, rainforests have, loads of species in them, so they clearly weren't short of stuff to film. But nevertheless, I did sort of think, I mean, it kind of felt like they were trying to pad out the series. Like, they had the idea for Planet Earth 2 and then thought, oh, we could do, islands, and we could do deserts, and we could do urban areas. Great, that's stuff we didn't cover in the last one. And then some producer said, well, we're going to need a few more episodes. And someone else said, well, I suppose we could do, mountains and jungles again. There's plenty of other stuff we could include, what we didn't do last time. And someone else said, well, yeah, I suppose so. I mean, what else are we going to do? It just, felt a bit like, unnecessary, for want of a better word. Having said that, though, I did absolutely love the scene with the jaguars in it. I mean, first of all, it's quite extensive, which is unusual. Well, at least for Planet Earth 1, it would have been unusual. I mean, I really liked the scene in Planet Earth 1 where they had the Amur leopards. And indeed, I think it was one of the first BBC documentaries ever to get proper footage of them in the wild at all. And considering how many there are left, I mean, about under 20, I think, certainly a number under 20 females, they were lucky to shoot any at all. Shoot with the camera, obviously. But despite that, I love that footage of the mother and the calf, wandering around and feeding on deer carcass. And I mean, hats off to the cameraman who had to stay out in the cold for hours on end to get any footage at all. But nevertheless, I always felt a bit like, well, it sort of, they just included it because it was rare, not because it was actually doing anything specifically interesting, or they added a lot to the documentary in general. But I digress. What I liked about this sequence is it shows you lots of different footage of jaguars doing stuff, and they cram a lot in. So, for example, you see a bit of a tussle between a male and a female jaguar. The male wanders into the female's territory, and it's an interesting kind of dynamic, because you can see the female is clearly not very pleased with him, but he's a lot bigger than she is. And you can see she has her back to a tree, and she kind of like moves back a bit like the cats do when you annoy them too much, and she's obviously got all the fur on the back of her neck of sort of raised up, and then they have a small tussle where the sort of the male shows her he's boss and then moves on, and it's a quite nice scene. It's got quite short, but nevertheless very exciting. It's a kind of sort of a little peep into sort of the interactivity between two jaguars, which you don't always see, certainly between two solitary cats anyway. But most of it is jaguars hunting, and I imagine that's because that was the easiest thing to film. Not only was it, I imagine, with such a dense population of jaguars along the Amazon in that particular area where they were filming, but also because, obviously outside of the jungle, jaguars are a lot easier to spot. So when they're hunting along the riverbanks, it must have been quite easy to film them. And there's some really good shots. I really like the way it also shows the difference between the male and the female hunting. So it shows the female sort of hunting by stealth in the water, which of course is a jaguar special trait. They're one of the very few cats, along with things like tigers, that actually enjoy water. And you can see it sort of creeping along with its head just above the surface, and it's sneaking up through these sort of dense vegetation along the surface of the river. And you can see it's getting closer and closer, and it's intercut with some nice footage that they got from like moving the camera slowly through. So it feels like it's very first person, and then the female gets closer and closer, and you hear David Attenborough say she's got to get within 3 feet, and you think, oh, that's not a very long distance, but she might just manage it. And she gets close, and then she springs, and she misses, and the capybara swims away. And then it has the other footage, which shows the male hunting. Now, the male's obviously a lot bigger, as it is with most big cats, and so he doesn't bother with capybara because they're too small and they're too quick. Instead, you see him hunting the caiman, which I think was my little brother's favourite part of it. I mean, as I said, he's a massive fan of jaguars, and the footage of it hunting caiman, I mean, it's not, don't think it was an exclusive for Planet Earth 2, but certainly I've never seen it very often, certainly on documentaries, and it's absolutely brilliant. I must admit, it wasn't a very big caiman. It sounds more impressive when you say it, you know, without seeing it, because I mean, it might just be that the jaguar was very, very big, but the caiman's actually smaller than it is, which of course, you know, is, you know, perfectly reasonable. I mean, why would it hunt a bigger one if it could hunt a small one? But nevertheless, it is still quite exciting, specifically the way they narrate over the top of it. David Attenborough does a really good job. He doesn't tell you what the jaguar is doing or what it's hunting until you see it spring, it grabs something, and then the score swells, it goes quite dramatic. And you see the jaguar with the caiman in its jaws, and then you see it kind of wrestle with it a little bit. And what's interesting is it doesn't really kill it at first. You can still see the caiman is still alive, and it still tries to bite it. And then the jaguar changes its hold and kills it. So it's quite exciting, and thankfully for the cameraman, I mean, there's a lot of foliage in the way, but he gets quite a good shot of the actual sort of aftermath of the hunt before the jaguar then sort of climbs up the bank and drags the caiman off into the forest around to eat it. But yeah, it's just a beautiful, beautiful shot, and indeed the whole bit along the Amazon River was definitely my favourite part of the Jungles episode. It just looks really, really, really good. In fact, they should have shot it for the Brazilian tourist board, because quite frankly, it made me want to go and visit it. It was that beautiful, and the bits of the otters as well, just swimming through the water, and you see the river dolphins, and it's all beautiful. And yeah, really, really gorgeous. And obviously they have that beautiful kind of sort of South American light, which really brings out the footage in it. So yeah, that was my very short review of an additional review, if you like, of Planet Earth 2. Overall, it hasn't changed my views on the series that much. I mean, I still really like it, as I did before, but I'd forgotten about this scene, and it was really good. I remember enjoying it the first time I saw it, back after it just came out. So, thank you very much, my younger brother, for reminding me of it. I hope that was, you know, a satisfactory addition, and yeah, and I hope anybody else who watched this enjoyed it as well. Anyway, thanks very much for watching, film fans, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.